Hey, Ike here, and this week I'll be doing page 17 of my new comic First Son and Sword, and you'll get to see me draw the whole page and then see the finished product at the end of the video, and I'll talk about my process like always. So here we go. And there's the thumbnail. That's pencils and then some Sharpie to figure out if where to place blacks, how I'm actually designing this background. It's not planned ahead of time. I designed it on the thumbnail. And yeah, that's the thumbnail. And then I get into the page. All right. This was just a few days back. And it felt pretty good. I actually got to do 2 pages, I think, back to back. So sometimes I only do 1 page a week, trying to get a little ahead right now. So I'm drawing, 2, at least this week I did. So 1 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday. And it was nice to draw back to back. And yeah, it sure would be nice to be able to draw every day. It takes me like 2.5 to 4 hours to draw a page. It's not even a hard day. If I could just do that every day, I would feel really in the flow, I think. I think I would like that. But that's not what my life allows for. And at least not in a way that I can maintain, that I feel is healthy. So we all have to figure out what that is for us, what we can accomplish, what's really important to us. And for me, I'm still making progress, even if it's 1 page a week. I'm making progress on the book. I'm not losing my skills. I'm still improving. I'm still thinking about my book. I'm studying, listening to podcasts and stuff about writing and art, and I'm drawing in my sketchbook. So I'm still always thinking and working, and it shows. Even though I'm producing less pages than I have since starting to make comics, I feel that my growth trajectory is as strong as ever, and maybe stronger, because there was a time when I was so busy completing the pages that it's a little more assembly line kind of mentality, and I'm not reflecting as much. I'm not getting better. I'm not necessarily improving as much, and I'm not enjoying it as much. So it's not just how much I do, it's how I do it that I'm really trying to focus on, especially right now. And maybe that's partly because I have limited time to do it, but to really focus on how I do it, how I think about it, how I go about my day and week, my thought life, what I'm paying attention to and thinking and focusing on. That if that's in a healthy place, it can grow and be more effective in the long run. And when I look at these pages, I get time to reflect on them. I see ways that I want to improve. Like, I appreciate, I'm not trying to be down on myself, but I appreciate the skills that I have and the things I've been able to develop. But I see in my work, not so much the mistakes. That's not so important to me. Where it's heading. So, there's artists, there's the saying that artists are our worst critic, our own worst critic, and that we tend to see, mistakes in our work and not like our work. For me, I actually like my old work. Like I still like all of my work. Sometimes I might be in a mood that I feel down on it, but that's rare these days. Um, but I am trying to. I guess, yeah. Sorry, I was losing my place. Yeah, for me, I see in my work not the mistakes, but the potential, like the direction it seems to be going, like. And that's what I look for in other people's art. If I see someone's art, and they're in a process of development, maybe they're not, a veteran yet. Um, when I look at their art, I don't just see, oh, the anatomy could be better or this or that. I see what they're trying to go for and what might be the next step, or the next place it's going to go. That'll be like a further iteration of that expression, of that value. And for me, when I look at my work, I see that, and I feel like it's going to get more geometric, more simple shapes, like even the structure of this room reflects that. My figures are going to get more geometric and kind of structured, I think. At the same time, even looser than it already is. I think I'm moving towards more energy, more looseness, more expression in the figures, that they don't have to be accurate. Like I think people that tend to be more structured in their drawings, I don't know how else to put it, but I have that in my DNA. I see that in my work. People that tend to do that, like their figures are more blocky, the backgrounds are more like solid shapes and geometry. Like people that seem to have that interest expressed in their work, sometimes their figures are stiff. They have less dynamic movement to their bodies. They're a little more, because they're sticking to that structure. And someone that's much more expressive with their strokes and their letting their bodies not be so solid, they can show a lot of energy on the page. But for me, I feel like I'm going to find a way to show more energy, but while being structured, and that I'm going to let the structure, it's going to be structured, but it's the structure itself that's going to bend, that's going to be flexible, rather than an expressionist sort of flexibility that lacks structure. So it's hard to explain in words, but it is. I would encourage you to do the same with yourself. Is what I'm saying. With if you're an artist and or even a writer, but you're working on something, like, what's that? What does it feel like you see in your work that's trying to develop? What's trying to become a greater version of itself, or come to life in your work? And you are just the curator of that. So get your ego out of the way. Your job is to curate that development in yourself. And someday when people praise you for your work, then you'll know that it's not even praise for you, that all you did was curate the development of the thing that they're praising. And you can't even exactly take credit for it. It's not exactly you. So there's, that humility, I think helps us to look at our work in a constructive way, develop ourselves more constructively, and not get a big head, and stay down to earth. So, here on the page, just to tell you what you're seeing, there's a lot of curtains and fabrics hanging, and then there's a few ropes hanging, and a big spider comes down from the ceiling. So another one of these moments where sun is just kind of carefree and exploring stuff and impulsive, and Sword is warning him, you probably shouldn't do that. This big spider comes down, and it's just a quick moment. It's kind of it might look like a big intimidating spider, but they just have a laugh, basically. Sword has a laugh, basically, that he knows that it's harmless because he knows who they're visiting here, the Weaver. And I thought it's just fun, weird things that don't have to be explained. Like, the Weaver is this strange, old, witch-like figure, and do they do magic that involves weaving of fabrics and threads, or pictures in tapestries, or do the spiders, like, are they is there webbing in the thread? But this world has large bugs and beasts and monsters, so it makes perfect sense that they would encounter some giant spider here. So we also, I guess the main point is that's what you're looking at. I don't have to get into the story too much, but there's going to come a point in this story where Sun is, his confidence and carefree attitude are gonna kind of crash. So this kind of builds to that. Or establishes kind of his nature and how it's going to be broken here. So, but yeah. When it comes to camera angles, or you could call it the shot. I like to use the metaphors of cameras. It just makes more sense to me. But these angles on the action, and here I've got Sun, his full body shown, and he's looking towards an over-the-shoulder shot. He's looking towards Sword, and it's this over-the-shoulder shot of Sword. So if you you can look at comic language and see how other comic artists have done it, and you can also look at film and learn about these reverse shot, over-the-shoulder, medium shot, so on. And how to apply those, the 180 degree line that you don't want to cross. Like, you can look at these techniques and things and apply that to your work. And sometimes just look back at your work and see, is something missing? Like, do I tend to only do this kind of shot and that kind of shot? Do I tend to not even do an establishing shot, or just how do I do those things, like a POV? Like, if someone's looking at something, do you show what they're looking at and then them looking at it, or the other way around? Like, it can really go either way. But you might recognize blind spots you have when you try to just critique it. Look and notice if there's anything you aren't doing that you could do. And you don't have to do it. Just it doesn't hurt to be aware. But that's a huge part of making comics. Yeah, you'll see here as I'm drawing on the page, I'm taking some pauses. I know this is sped up a bit, but there's times the pen isn't moving. I'm just kind of pausing and looking at the page, and then tackling another section of it, almost like a jigsaw puzzle where you attack one section, then another, and then come back. I'm pausing to look at the image and see where I want to put these lines and how these different fabrics overlap. Because my pencils aren't totally clear. I still have to figure it out on the page. Like when I ink. And I prefer that. I want to have loose pencils for various reasons. It's faster. and more exciting for me. Originally, I thought the design of this room would be a little different. I realized that was going to be way too complicated. So there's a symmetry pattern to like the layout of these fabrics, and that way when I move the camera around and I show things, I can just easily reproduce that. So the main thing I'm doing with this channel is sharing my practice of being a comic book artist and a creator. So not just drawing pages, but creating and directing and writing comic book stories, making them. So a lot of that for me is my mindset. And maybe that's because I'm just very intellectual, but or spiritual or whatever, mindful, but I can't help but process things the way that I do, and I want to be able to share like how I process, not just the process of drawing. So I'm still figuring out what all I can do with this channel and what I can share. I'm definitely going to keep up with these weekly pages and thoughts, but I want to do other content, other things with this, at least sharing other aspects of what I do. But we'll see what I have to share here. When it comes to my thoughts on things like AI art or publisher or not publisher, like I'm happy to share what I think, but a lot of times for me, a lot of those things are distractions from staying focused on creating, on my practice. And that's kind of what I really want to share is the giving people permission and inspiration and so on to be their practice. And I don't know if, talking about AI art, for example, is going to help me do that, really share what I do. Because, I have a distaste for those sorts of things because they are distractions. But we'll see what how and what I can share when it comes to things like that, and like publisher or no publisher. That's a big one. Should you self-publish or not? Which of course I'm self-publishing, but it's just a different formula for everybody. I guess I can share a bit about that because it relates to what I'm doing with my mindset here. To me, the way you treat yourself and develop yourself as an artist is one thing, and then the commercialization of your art and how to make money with it and develop your career in comic books is a different question. And I think they really get mixed in people's minds. It's really easy to like cross those boundaries and be trying to measure your success as an artist or make choices for your development and wellness as an artist that are based on if it's making money or not. Just one example, just judging yourself based on how many sales you get. That would be an example to me of this mix-up. And it goes the other way too, where you can make work that's very personal and that you're going to make whether a publisher picks it up or not. That's whether there's a market for that type of story or art style or not, because you're really invested in your development as an artist, your process of who you're becoming as an artist. And well, that undermines your financial goals if you mix them up in that direction. For me, I would like to make more money with comics to be able to work less at doing other work, to free up time to make more comics. Like I said, I'm making 1 or 2 pages a week. I'd like to be able to double that, of course. And I just don't have the resources, the time to do that right now. But for me, the formula is the work that goes into working for other people, managing, business relationships, contracts, deadlines, just everything involved in working for someone else, and in trying to get that work and to network and connect for those purposes, like to tailor the way your art looks to what the editors want. Like, that's just not in the cards for me right now, because it's not financially beneficial enough to me. Like, I'm stable enough with my current financial situation, having a day job as a counselor, and I like doing that, and I don't want to give it up. So, like, my rare resource is time, but money from comics is not necessarily going to allow me to free up a lot of time. It might eat up a lot of time just in that endeavor, and not actually allow me to stop or cut back on my counseling work. So, or that I may not even want to. So that's that's just my formula. That's just like what the case is for me, but it's different for everybody. But I do think it's not uncommon that, not uncommon that they have a partner that works full time in a regular kind of job, or that they have a job. And that doesn't mean you're a failure or anything. It's just how's that formula work for you? Like, what's the best way for you to develop? It's people think that getting financial, publishing success in comic books, being able to do that full time, that would solidify your future. It would help you develop a long-term career, not burn out, not end up quitting after 5 or 10 years, but be able to stick with it. But that's not necessarily true. That it can actually lead to burnout and lead to quitting. And that's a goal for me, is I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life. And if work, getting work doesn't necessarily make that more likely for me to be able to do. I think the best thing I can do is keep practicing, keep doing the work and developing myself. And maybe I'll just end up some crazy, old person that just does this and doesn't make a lot of money from it. But that's okay with me. That'd be pretty awesome. Because that would be a win. If I can do it that long, that's a win. And refine myself to that degree. I love the sound of that. And I do think that that's more likely to lead to success, financial success, career success. It actually is more likely to lead to long-term success if I keep my long-term development and wellness in mind. So I don't know. That's just how I think about it. But for some of you, that might comfort you, give you permission, and give you like the idea that it's okay to do what's right for you. It doesn't make you less of a creator if you are self-publishing or working for a publisher or or whatever your situation, whatever's best for your situation. I guess this relates to another sort of point or comment I can make on this is I think, wishful thinking or chasing after inspiration can be detrimental. I guess for me, I feel like I see that. So like, for example, if you were going to work with someone else, if you were going to get a co-creator, maybe a writer, it's one thing if there's a financial reason you should do that. But, working with other people, it might make you feel like there's greater hope for success, financial success. And we can get caught up in those reasons and feel like maybe it's more exciting or more professional if you're doing things like that, like working with a team. But I think it goes back to that what's right for you, approach, that it might not be it might not actually be good for you to work with other people. Like if what you want to do is tell your own stories, then maybe what you should do is work on telling your own stories. And maybe that'll take a long time. It could take years and years to develop the not only the art and storytelling skills, like visually, but the writing skills, to like really find your voice. Like, it's no joke to be a writer, to be able to give a voice to your characters and to communicate like in ways that feel really honest and clear. And it's the same for visual artists. You learn to do that too, with a different set of skills, but you're doing the same thing basically. But I mean, like, to make your own stories, you have to do both. And it's nice to get a win. Like if someone that's kind of a beginner, they get a lot of notoriety and just kind of strike gold somehow. Maybe they just have natural talent, like, and they're just better, but that's short-lived. Like they're still in the same boat as someone, well, like me, someone that's hasn't had that kind of success and just puts in the time. That in the long run, we're all just people that have to keep developing our craft and keep working at it and put in the hours. So yeah, like maybe not working in a team would be better, and what you would need to do is just focus and work on yourself and develop those skills in yourself. If you're interested, if that's really what you want to do. It might even be like the sort of story. There's lots of people that they don't think of themselves as writers, but they're still able to make comics. I mean, I've heard Mike Mignola. There's a time when he didn't think he was a writer, with like Hellboy, but he found a way of writing and storytelling that works for him, especially in those short story formats he's expert at. So there's all kinds of types of storytelling that can be done in comics that might lend itself to what your interests are. And that takes some, I guess, soul searching and practice and kind of figuring it out, because you might love, I don't know, like really serious comics, but it doesn't suit your art style. Like in some sense, you want to make like a superhero comic, but it's not suiting your storytelling, your art style, your personality. It's maybe something you loved as a kid, but it's not. It just isn't honest when you do it, and it'll take you some practice to realize, like, okay, this is a thing that I love, but it's not my thing. Like, I'm mimicking. I'm trying to be like someone else, some other storyteller, and in their style of storytelling, and maybe there's something in you that resonated with them, and so you're trying to mimic them because you're really just trying to find yourself and what you like, and you're in the process of doing that. So it's okay to mimic for a time, because especially when it resonates with you. But there'll come a point where you realize that there's limits to mimicking, that there's more to you than that, and that you'll keep developing that. And sometimes people notice that, like an editor, a publisher, someone might notice it feels like your work's kind of mimicking, and that maybe you have more of a voice to develop. And they might be right. It's true. Oftentimes, I mean, you could imagine it being true for like a writer. It's going to be true for artists too. And now I'm just cleaning up the page with whiteout, throwing in the last finishing touches. When I erase those pencils, and it really kind of cleans the page up, I can see better what might be needed. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep putting these out, and hopefully get to do some other content before too long for you guys. I'm not sure what else to say today. It's been a busy day, busy week. My head's kind of in different places than knowing what I would want to say. And I guess that's part of it too, is sometimes I'm not as clear-headed, I'm busier, and that's all right. So here's the finished page in black and white, just the inks, a photo of that paper, and then in color with the lettering, the final page. And I thought this time I would show you side by side, kind of like that chunk of the page and then that chunk in color with the lettering. And that's it. That's it for this week. That's page 17. Next week we got page 18. We're coming up on getting close to like a big action scene. This will be the first action scene with lots of fighting, like sword fighting, instead of like the one where they're fighting a big beetle. That's a little different. So it'll be fun to see how I can execute that. But we'll catch you guys next time.